This is Late Night Health. This is the radio show that cares about the most important part of your life, your health. During the next hour, the insane Daryl Wayne and I are going to take a look at a number of issues that affect each and every one of us. We're going to wrap up our show today with a discussion on being different, and that'll be with Robert Clancy, our regular contributor. Linda Salvin, Dr. Linda Salvin, will be joining us for a look at COVID-19 from both a scientific basis, she is an epidemiologist by trade, as well as from a spiritual standpoint and what it's doing to the world. And we're going to start with an introduction of a new book called Lessons from the Zen Master, Business and Life Lessons Learned by a Grateful Son. The author's name is Ron Zayas, and he is on our phone right now. Ron, good morning to you, or good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you're listening to us.
Good evening.
Ron, were you close with your dad?
You know, my father is still alive. He was close because he's a very involved father. I can't always say we always had the most, smooth relationship. We have differing personalities, so sometimes we had conflict there.
Got it. I remember my dad, and my dad passed very young, and I was grateful for the time I had with him, and he was a good dad. He wasn't involved, but I knew he loved me. And I knew he loved my sisters as well, and I know he loved my mother. Is the primary force in families love, and everything else is just superfluous?
I think to a large degree it is. My father, along that same line, my father was always a very strict father, but he was a very loving and affectionate father, and that tended to balance those things out. And the fact that when you trust somebody's the motives behind what they do. If you love somebody and you feel like they love you, you can give them a lot more wide berth for the mistakes that they make. As a father and grandfather, I make a lot of mistakes. But I think when you feel love, that covers up a lot of sins.
I think kids should come with a guide. This is how you do everything. And because we all feel that we screw up, but and then when you talk to your kids, especially when they're adults, they tell you, yeah, you messed up, but it's okay. Have you ever said that to your father?
Yeah, I think they ought to come with a guide or a return receipt, one of the two. So
absolutely, I like that. In your life, growing up, I'm assuming that you were a carnivore. Eating a lot of meat, chicken, pork, and that changed. Tell us about your change, because you've been a vegan now for how many years?
For 8 years.
8 years. Oh, my gosh. Why did you change? What motivated you to drop the meat?
And again, I used to say there was never a ribeye I didn't like. And being Cuban, we eat a lot of pork. And you don't see a lot of vegetables on your plate. But when I was in my mid-40s, I started having what turned out to be unstable angina. And I went into my doctor and was complaining about just a lot of pressure and pain in my chest. And he was saying that, I had a lot of blockage, my cholesterol was extremely high, and wanted to put me on statins, wanted to put me on other drugs, and had even looked at my EKG and said, you've had a minor heart attack in the past, which I wasn't even aware of. So I walked out of there and decided that before I started doing drugs or anything else, I wanted to see if there was any other way to do this. And I came across some reports from a Dr. Estelson for the Cleveland Heart Clinic. So I read his book, and it seemed convincing and easy enough. And basically it was be a vegan and avoid added oils. And I thought, you know what, I can do this for 90 days and see what it's like. So I did, and my cholesterol dropped 150 points. The angina went away. I lost 30 pounds. And I decided, you know what, if this is making that much of a difference, and I'm not taking any medication, I'd be kind of stupid not to do this. And I really didn't, it wasn't a huge bother, except for when I went traveling. You know, that was always a little bit harder. But overall, I enjoyed the food, and it was easy enough to stick with, all things being relative.
And what about your family? Did they adopt the vegan lifestyle as well?
Hell no. And I'm the one who cooks. So I would have to cook for myself, and then I'd cook for my children and for my wife, and they weren't very enthusiastic. They did over time. I'd start cooking certain things, and they would say, oh, well, we really like that. And the fact that it was vegan and didn't have any oil was secondary. And then over a period of time, after the kids grew up and they went on their own way, my wife started saying, well, you know what, I can eat this way, and eating more and more. So over a period of time, I would say she's about a 70% vegan. She'll still eat chicken every once in a while, but if we're eating at home, she'll eat what I cook, and she enjoys it.
It's interesting because I'm the cook in our family as well, and I like to try to do a vegetarian recipe at least once a week, and this week we've done it twice a week. We've done it 2 times, and we both enjoy that food. On the other hand, I do like a steak once in a while. I haven't had one in a long time, at least a month. Actually, I didn't have a steak the last time I cooked a steak. I cooked that for my father-in-law, and we ate fish. The health benefits of dropping animal protein seems to be undeniable, right?
Every study that's out there tends to show that over and over again. And again, I can generally only speak for myself, but the change in the way my body reacted was just dramatic. I mean, 8 years later, I still haven't gained back the 30 pounds. And I play tennis and I try to be active. I mean, I'm not the type of person who can go to a gym and work out, but I love playing tennis. I love going out and walking and doing things like that. And I keep up with people who are a lot younger than me. And I don't feel that kind of stress on my heart that I ever felt before.
Interesting. I've talked to a number of people over the years here at Late Night Health about a vegan diet. I've talked to many doctors and naturopaths about it. And it just seems to be a healthier way of living. Do you ever wake up at 2 a.m. saying, gee, I really would like a ribeye?
I have. And again, it's tough when you're cooking for other people and when my children come over and my grandkids come over, steak is typically one of the things they'll ask for, or burgers or anything else. And I definitely don't want to say that I haven't been tempted and had a bite or whatever, but you kind of say to yourself, if you fall off the wagon one day, tomorrow's a new day, start that up and go from there. But I will say that when I eat, and the toughest part for me is the holidays, because we have big Cuban dinners, and roast pork is a big part of that, and I'm the one, again, who does all of that. It's very tempting, and every once in a while I will have a bite, not so much because I miss the food, but because food is part of community. It's part of the memories you have growing up. And when I do, I don't feel so great later, and I always tell my wife, remind me not to do that again.
Well, but when you're cooking, don't you have to taste while you're cooking?
Absolutely. And what I try to do is I try to and there are certain things that, because they're very greasy and because they have a lot of meat, there's a seasoned ground beef that's like that's very popular in Cuban cooking, and my kids and my wife love it. I try to taste it at different points before I've added in the meat to make sure I have everything right before I add in the meat. That makes sense.
Ron, we're going to take time out right now, and we'll come back and continue our conversation. We're speaking with Ron Zayas, Lessons from the Zen Master, and maybe we can even get a Cubano sandwich recipe out of him that's actually vegan. I'm Mark Allen, along with the insane Daryl Wayne. Join us at LateNightHealth.com. We'll be back. Late Night Health is proud of our partnership with the EBC, the Evolutionary Business Council. Check them out at ebcouncil.com.
You're listening to Late Night Health with Mark Allen. The show continues in a moment.
Recently, I met Jacqueline from Bright here in Los Angeles. She gave me a hearing exam and then showed me how to hear again with the new Signia Pure Series hearing aids, and she can give you your life back too. I hear birds chirping, birds cooing, and even my wife. They easily connect to my smartphone. The Signia hearing aids are amazing, and with the charge and go, I don't have to fiddle with batteries and hear all day long. Not hearing is frustrating for you and your family. I know you don't have a problem, but trust me, call Bright Here now for a free hearing exam, a $125 value, yours free, just for making an appointment now. There are offices throughout the Los Angeles area. Call Bright Here now at 323-424-7100. That's 323-424-7100 for a free hearing exam. There's no obligation. Call now, 323-424-7100, or visit them on the web at brighthere.com.
If you're listening to Late Night Health right now, you're part of the growing target of baby boomers we're serving. Hi, I'm Daryl Wayne, producer of Late Night Health, inviting you to join the Late Night Health family. If you have any business targeting the growing boomer market, Late Night Health is the ideal advertising vehicle for you. From vitamins to insurance, alternative health to Western-style medicine, Late Night Health caters to the growing population of those over 40 years old. This vibrant demographic has expendable income to fight aging, purchase travel, take care of aging parents, or just have fun. Find out about the advertising opportunities with Late Night Health. Call us at 805-391-0308. That's 805-391-0308, or email us at info@latenighthealth.com. That's info@latenighthealth.com. Join Late Night Health as we empower people to take charge of their own health care. Call now at 805-391-0308. That's 805-391-0308.
There's a lot of talk all over the internet about the remarkable benefits of Carbon-60, and baby boomers are especially excited about it. Greska's Carbon-60 is the premium Carbon-60, developed by an aerospace and NASA scientist. 95% of Greska's customers report positive results from this Nobel Prize-winning technology in just 4 days. Imagine more energy, better health, and more vitality. It's very bioavailable to quickly mend toxin-crippled cells. This is a super powerful antioxidant. Bob Greska is so confident that you'll love his Carbon-60, he wants to send you a bottle at 50% off the regular price to see how life-changing this will be for you. Call 720-600-6040. That's 720-600-6040. Visit c-60.com to learn more. Call 720-600-6040 now, or visit c-60.com. Late Night Health continues. I'm Mark Allen, along with the insane Daryl Wayne. We're spending some time with the author of Lessons from the Zen Master, Business and Life Lessons Learned by a Grateful Son. His name is Ron Zayas, and during our first segment, we really talked about health. Did you learn about health from your dad? Do you think?
No, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead, Mark.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, not only did I not learn from health from my father, but it was one of the wisdom points that I was able to give back to him. My father suffered his first heart attack at 65, and then when he was about 73 or 74, he had a second heart attack. And I went out. He lives in Texas, so I flew out there to see him, and he was still in the hospital, and he was eating Taco Bell. You know, he was eating this greasy taco. And he was giving me a lecture about how well he knew his body and that he knew what he could eat and everything else. And so we were having a discussion about that and about, then why are you here with a second heart attack? And the doctor came in and spoke to him, and, you know, my father started to say, now, don't admonish me for eating a taco. And the doctor said, you can eat anything you want. I don't think it's going to matter at this point. And then after the doctor left, my father and I started to have a conversation about that and the implication of what the doctor was saying, that they really didn't think he was going to live very much longer. So my father and I began to talk about my diet, and he was saying, I'd rather, eat badly and have a good life than have to eat food that I don't enjoy. So started talking to him about how you make food and how you can eat good food and how it tastes well. And by the time he got out of the hospital, he gave it a shot. So he had me prepare some foods, and I told him what he needed to do. And he stuck religiously to the program for 90 days and really saw some huge changes. And I would say right now he's probably 70 to 80% on the program, but it's also been, 7 or 8 years later, and he's still with us, so we're very grateful for that. And it was nice to be able to help give some of that back for all the wisdom he had given me.
Let's talk about that. Actually, one last food question, then we're going to go on to life and business, and that is, do you have a recipe for a vegan or vegetarian Cubano sandwich? It's one of my favorite things to eat.
It is one of my favorite things to eat, too, and I do not. At one time, and I'll make a plug here, there's a place in Southern California called the Native Cafe, and it's all vegan. And for 1 week, they had a vegan Cuban sandwich, and it was fantastic, and it has never come back. But I have never been able to replicate the taste of a Cuban sandwich in a vegan way. And a lot of the other Cuban cooking, I do it in vegan and even without oil. And it's, my family will eat it because they can't tell the difference. But a Cuban sandwich, if I could do that, I'd be a millionaire.
Yeah, absolutely. There's Portos. You must know Portos.
Yes,
in Burbank and other places out there. They make a great one. Anyway, but it's not a vegan one. This last weekend, we sampled vegan Thai food, and I was up for it, and my wife was a little leery. It was really good, so good. We're going to go back, and we had orange chicken without chicken. So, what did your father do for a living, and how did he take that and translate it into life lessons for you?
My father started out in Cuba as his love is cinema. His love is he was a producer of movies and of newsreels in Cuba, and that's really what he enjoyed. When they came here to the U.S. in 1966, he didn't have that same opportunity, so he was a salesman for a while, and then he eventually got into computers and then earned his computer engineering degree and worked for some of the larger mainframe and mini computers for a while until it eventually got to the point where he got sick from all the arsenic and lead and everything else that's in computer boards. So he ended up retiring early, writing software, and that's basically what he did for the latter part of his life until he finally retired altogether.
And while he was working, how did he teach you life lessons and even business lessons?
For me, it was really involved in two different ways. One is Cuban dinners are long dinners. I mean, they're 2 hours. We would have dinner, we'd sit down, and then there'd be a lot of conversation, a lot of questions, a lot of things like that. So that was one area where knowledge and culture was sent over to the children, and the children could also, interact and have conversations from there. But another big part of my dad and me interacting is that we're both avid chess players. And my father and I would sometimes spend all night long playing chess. And then he'd call in sick to work, and I, wouldn't have to go to school. But those nights when we were playing, it was just him and I. We would have conversations. And my father had a nice way of teaching that whether you're applying it to business, whether you're applying it to academics, whether you're applying it to your profession, that if you have certain innate or if you have certain developed characteristics like honesty, integrity, strength of character, fairness, that if you have those, you can apply them to lots of different situations. And that's where I absorbed a lot of his knowledge, more so than I ever was aware of until I started writing the book.
You told me earlier you like writing. You enjoy that.
I do.
But you seem to be such a social person, an outgoing person. Writing is is something that I've done for years and years, but I find it a little lonely. And I like a collaborative effort. So if I write something, I'll send it to, say, Daryl and say, what do you think? And he'll come back to me. Or he'll go, because I saw he was about to do that. And
I have a variety of sound effects.
Right.
In hand, yeah.
And he does that all the time. My point is that how do you get off, you seem to be social, are you? And you're outgoing.
And I'm not. I look at it as my job. I'm started in sales and in marketing. My degree's in psychology, and I did psychology. I did some clinical psychology as I was going to work on my master's, and I couldn't do it. I just couldn't deal with how tough that situation was. So the only thing I had to fall back on was business and technology and marketing. And that's my job. I have to be social. I have to talk. I have to do presentations. As a CEO, I have to work with other people. But my innate character is to be by myself and be quiet. So writing is a nice time for me. And when the kids were young, when my children were young, I'd wait until 1 a.m. in the morning because then everybody would be asleep. My wife would be asleep, and then I could come downstairs and write. And I really enjoy that time. I enjoy the being involved in writing. But I will say the best, most rewarding part of writing for me is when somebody reads the book or reads something that I wrote and writes back and says, that helped, or that really clicked for me, or I really got to see your father. That social aspect of it is the most rewarding part. But the writing part, I enjoy just creating something that's on my own and not being responsible for others.
That's very interesting. The book, by the way, the name of the book is Lessons from the Len Master. I've been saying Zen Master, and it's not. It's the Len Master, and Business and Life Lessons Learned by a Grateful Son. It's available on Barnes & Noble, Amazon, what else?
Wherever fine books are sold, as I like to say.
Wherever fine books are sold. That's good. Ron, thank you very much. Maybe in a month or so we'll do this again. Bill Frank, thank you for introducing us to Ron. We appreciate it. And what we'll do is next time, instead of talking about the health aspects and the food, we'll talk about the business aspect and the life lessons that you learned. Okay?
I appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me on and making this such a pleasant experience.
Thank you very much. I'm Mark Allen, along with the insane Daryl Wayne. Be sure to look for us at Facebook, facebook.com/Late Night Health Radio. We'll be back as Late Night Health moves forward.
Sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Words are a critical aspect of success. How you get your point across is a crucial part of what makes anything sell. So do it right and hire a writer. Whether it's articles, blog posts, technical writings, website content, product descriptions, or ghostwriting anything from a novel to a nonfiction book about your navel, contact Servet Hassan. If you want it to sell, write it right. Email Servet at servet@servethassan.com.